better.
At the end of the Mass at the St Michael and John Cathedral, pallbearers from Casino and Bathurst carried the coffin from the church. Constable Quinn's family and senior police drove through a guard of honour of police, prison warders, ambulance officers and rescue service personnel lined along the town's main street. At Bathurst Cemetery, Paul Michael Quinn was laid to rest in a town he'd only been transferred to 5 days before his tragic death. Hero is an overused word, but it's a word the people of Bathurst believe aptly describes Paul Quinn. And his farewell was for a man who paid the ultimate price as an officer of the law. In Bathurst, Russ Street, Eyewitness News.
And in Melbourne, police now have a vital clue in their hunt for the Russell Street car bomber. They say a travel rug found in the wreckage of the vehicle could lead them to the person responsible for the horror attack.
The tartan rug was found in the debris of the car bomb. Police say the rug concealed the bomb's timing device and was probably sitting on the back seat of the stolen Commodore when the bomb exploded.
Obviously, the person who left the car there and then set the triggering mechanism simply put his hand into that rug, we believe, set the mechanism going. That meant that the mechanism was still concealed and would have been concealed during the time that he drove the motor vehicle, left the car and of course soon afterwards it detonated.
Police say the rug didn't belong to the car's owner. It may belong to the bomber. Also on display, a vast collection of debris picked up in an intensive search of 6 city blocks around the blast scene. Forensic police haven't yet begun to piece together this huge jigsaw of destruction. Debris was hurled more than 400 metres when the car bomb exploded outside the Russell Street Police headquarters last Thursday. There are now close to 100 police investigating the bombing horror. Of the 22 injured, the worst hit, policewoman Angela Taylor, is now off the critical list, though still suffering burns to 35% of her body.
And in the wake of that bombing, a world authority on terrorism has claimed it's impossible to prevent such terrorist attacks in Australia. Dr. Richard Clutterbuck, on a lecture tour for the National Safety Council, says Australia's no longer isolated from political and criminal elements.
Although he believes our security forces are as much on top of the problem as any other country, Dr. Clutterbuck cited Melbourne's Russell Street bomb as a warning against complacency. And he says there are, of course, many other examples. The tragic attacks on the Family Law Court and its judges, the Hilton Hotel garbage bin bomb which killed 3 men, and the bombing of the Jehovah's Witnesses Kingdom Hall at Casula. Dr. Clutterbuck says there is as much chance of preventing terrorism as there is of preventing crime.
And if any policeman were to suggest to you that there was a formula that would wipe out crime, you'd regard him as weak in the head. Now, in my opinion, anyone who thinks he's got the wonderful great elixir which will wipe terrorism off the face of the earth is being plain stupid.
Although he believes that it is impossible to prevent terrorism in Australia, Dr. Clutterbuck says increased awareness on the part of government and private industry can only lessen the possibility of such attacks. And he cites Northern Ireland as an example of what can be done.
And there are very few people who realise that. It is 6 times more dangerous in homicides per 1,000 to live in Washington, D.C., which is not top of the crime in the United States, than it is in Belfast. It's been got down. Last year was 50-something in the whole year.
In Mexico, the vital flight recorder has been found amid the wreckage of the Mexicana Airlines jet, which crashed into mountains yesterday, killing all 166 people on board. And authorities say special police have had to be sent to the area to stop the looting of luggage and other wreckage from the site. It's still not known why the Boeing 727 crashed just after leaving Mexico City, bound for Los Angeles.
24 hours after the jetliner made its death plunge, most of the bodies have been recovered and flown back to Mexico City. There they were taken to a makeshift morgue where friends and relatives went through the ordeal of identifying the remains. In other countries too, families were waiting for word. 2 groups of American parents have not heard from their daughters. They fear they may have been aboard Mexicana Flight 940.
I haven't heard from her since she went to Mexico, and that was a week ago last Saturday.
At the crash site, investigators have recovered the flight recorders and will send them to the Boeing factory for analysis. Eyewitnesses said they saw the 727 explode in the air, with the tail section breaking off first. A recent Mexican magazine quoted mechanics as saying the airline's fleet was poorly maintained, a charge Mexicana denies. A spokesman said the airliner that crashed was one of the newest in the fleet.
Veteran Hollywood actor James Cagney, who died last Sunday, was buried today. Our cable news network reports hundreds attended his funeral at the New York church which Cagney attended in his youth.
In life, Cagney avoided the glamour of Hollywood, and that tradition continued in death. The funeral was no star-studded affair. The only show business types were Cagney's pallbearers, dancer Mikhail Baryshnikov, actor and longtime friend Ralph Bellamy, former heavyweight boxing champ Floyd Patterson, and director Milos Forman, who gave Cagney a part in his film Ragtime, marking the Academy Award winner's return to the screen. New York Governor Mario Cuomo and the city's mayor Ed Koch also attended, as did John Cardinal O'Connor. Following the services, when the casket was brought out of the church, the hundreds of fans lining the streets spontaneously gave Jimmy Cagney his last round of applause.
Back home, the battle against drug abuse by children has taken a significant step forward. We'll have that story shortly.
And a look at the latest crisis facing New South Wales farmers, ever-spreading drought and low stock prices.
Stephen Datner, Australia's largest leather and fur retailer, must liquidate $4 million worth of outstanding garments for men and women at absolutely the lowest prices possible. Foxes at never-before prices. Fabulous mink, stunning rabbits. Thousands of leather garments for men and women. Even leather ties from only $2. But be warned, be early. Doors open 9 a.m, Paddington Town Hall. The Stephen Datner $4 million leather and fur sellout, 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Stretching exercises are vital to develop good performance. Now, how about that relay race?
Yay! Lisa, I forgot the buttons.
Well, let's use these.
Uncle Toby's muesli bars?
Sure, just because they're good to eat and full of good things like oats, nuts, fruit and honey, doesn't mean we can't use them. I don't think Uncle Toby would mind. Now, who's running first?
Me, but I've hidden my button.
Uncle Toby's muesli bars, then.
Big news from St. George. St. George's new Super 8 offers 15.5% per annum for just 2 or 3 months term. High return, short term. An ideal investment in this time of interest rate uncertainty. 15.5% per annum for just 2 or 3 months. Drop into any St. George branch and get the big news now. But hurry, the offer won't last.
What a great idea, St. George!
Detective Sergeant Roger Rogerson was formally charged with misconduct today, charges he says he plans to fight vigorously. Alan Hind reports Rogerson will soon appear before the police tribunal to answer his third serious charge in 12 months.
Rogerson has been accused of improperly associating with criminals and bringing discredit on the police force. He met briefly with the head of the police internal security unit and told reporters he'd be fighting to clear his name.
I'm definitely innocent, and as I said earlier, it is a trumped-up charge, and I'll be producing evidence at that tribunal hearing to prove my innocence. I'll be producing all witnesses necessary to prove that the charge against me is an unfounded charge.
Rogerson became prominent in 1981 when he shot dead drug dealer Warren Lanfranchi in a Chippendale lane. It was claimed alleged drug trafficker Arthur Neddy Smith led him to Lanfranchi, and it's that association that now has Rogerson in hot water. It's believed the basis of the charge is a recorded telephone conversation between he and Neddy Smith in 1983.
That seems to be a typical thing with this police department, that they hang on to things for years and then pull them out of off the shelf and then do something about it, such as this thing. As I said, it's 1983 that this allegation took place.
After a shooting at the Chatswood home of drug squad detective Michael Drury last year, Rogerson was charged with bribery, which he successfully defended. He was then acquitted of an assault charge against a woman at the Korean House restaurant in 1984. In his defence on the latest charge, Rogerson will call forward a retired chief superintendent of the CIB and will also reveal a number of allegations against the Internal Security Unit. But the unit's chief says they have nothing to fear.
We attempt to do everything by the book, and that is my belief, that everything we have done since the revamping of this section has been done by the book.
Detective Sergeant Rogerson now has 7 days to lodge an objection to the charge before it goes in front of the police tribunal. But whether he's found to be innocent or guilty, Rogerson says his career in the police force is ruined. Alan Hind, Eyewitness News.
Neddy Smith, the man named in Parliament as a leading criminal and drug trafficker, is in a serious condition in a South Sydney hospital after an apparent attempt on his life. Police say he was run down by a car in the inner Sydney suburb of Waterloo this morning and is now under police guard as there are fears another attempt may be made on his life.
The battle against child drug abuse took a significant step forward today with the ceremonial start of a new project at Colleton to the west of Sydney. When completed, the complex will be the front line of the Wayside Chapel's Life Education campaign, aimed at teaching children about the drug danger.
Founded on the philosophy prevention is better than cure, Life Education Centres now operate Australia-wide, teaching pre-teenage children the often tragic effect of drugs on the body. The goal is to eliminate the drug pushers market, both present and potential. With classes booked out almost 2 years ahead, the Colleton Centre will be a vitally important new battlefront against the billion-dollar illicit drug trade. The complex will have 6 classrooms capable of teaching 50,000 children a year, making it the biggest centre of its type in the world. The New South Wales Government and Sydney adventurer entrepreneur Dick Smith each donated $750,000 towards the project's cost. Another $500,000 is still needed. At today's ceremony, Mr. Smith joined the Wayside Chapel's Reverend Ted Knox in turning the first sod of soil to signal the start of the centre's construction. Reverend Knox believes this project's importance can't be understated.
I think this centre will lead the world. I think you'll find that Colleton will become a word in the world that will signify health education, and the whole world will be beating a track to this particular place.
Reverend Knox intends inviting Prince Charles to open the centre when it's completed about November. Robert Broon, Eyewitness News.
New South Wales road toll rose again today when one woman was killed and 2 other people were badly burned in a smash just south of Coffs Harbour. Our reporter Greg McLagan says the dead woman was incinerated in the crash, which closed the Pacific Highway for 2 hours.
Police are waiting for dental charts so they can positively identify the dead woman, who is believed to come from Guyra in the north of the state. The accident happened at 10:30 this morning when, according to police, a Dodge utility towing a large caravan collided head-on with a small Datsun Bluebird. Eyewitnesses said the caravan began swaying out of control, forcing the utility to the incorrect side of the road. The Datsun burst into flames on impact. The woman driver was incinerated, but somehow a 12-year-old child escaped without serious injury. The driver of the utility and his female passenger have been admitted to Coffs Harbour Hospital with severe burns to the body and legs. Traffic was diverted through Sawtell for 2 hours while wreckage was cleared from the highway. The North Coast road toll is now 25% up on the same period last year. Greg McLagan in Coffs Harbour for Eyewitness News.
Hard hit by increasing costs, New South Wales farmers now face new pressures from the ever-widening drought and appallingly low returns for their stock. At recent sales in the northwest of the state, prices for sheep had fallen to 10 cents per animal. And for that meagre return, the grazier is forced to the thing he hates most.
A sight that's becoming far too common. Barren paddocks and stock being fed off the back of a truck. Unfortunately for farmers, there's no relief in sight. In many centres in the northwest, no rainfall was recorded in March, and if there was, it was a quick shower or thunderstorm. It's common knowledge that in this area, April is known as the driest month of the year, so stock owners haven't got much to look forward to. Winter is just around the corner. Sheep and cattle need to keep that weight on, or the cold weather will take hold. Many farmers are already saying this drought will be worse than the last big dry, which went for 4 years, beginning in 1981. The effect is already showing at local cattle and sheep sales. The Tamworth sale was held today. In recent weeks, pens of these old ewes have been selling for as low as 10 cents a head, and it's mainly due to the barren conditions. A sure sign that a drought has begun is when farmers start hand feeding. Many of the farmers in the northwest have begun hand feeding their stock. The ones that haven't say they will within 2 weeks. There's just no feed anywhere, and the grass that is growing is bone dry. Ian McQueen owns the property Bellevue, about 30 kilometres south of Tamworth. He started hand feeding his 800 head of sheep yesterday.
Because we're going more or less be feeding now until spring probably, because we've got no oats sown and there's nothing growing. So looks like we're going to have a long, long, hard winter.
Overseas, continued fighting and a growing toll has finally forced the French peacekeeping force to pull out of Lebanon. The full story shortly.
And the unusual story of just how much honesty can pay, sometimes.
Next Wednesday night, Lotto jackpots to $1 million. Just cross box A on your new Lotto coupon, and you not only have the chance to win on Monday, but you also get another go on Wednesday at the big $1 million jackpot.
Double up, go Lotto, it's easy, go Lotto, twice a week. Go Lotto, it's twice the chance to win.
Have you ever had the desire to live out your most glamorous dreams? Channel 10 and Anita Jewelers give you the opportunity in a fantastic new competition to win the $25,000 Return to Eden collection. You could win the lavish 18-carat white gold and diamond necklace, the superb white gold and diamond cluster ring, and the glittering pair of white gold and diamond earrings, all exclusively designed by Anita Jewelers. Rush to get the details in your Daily Telegraph and make sure you're watching Return to Eden 7:30 Mondays for your chance of a lifetime.
This piece of luggage always travels in first class. So it's always the first thing off the plane. Who owns this privileged suitcase? A mining company, a bank, a computer firm.
Ring TAA Speedbag, the only courier to travel first class. So it always gets there first.
I'm a very happy dog because I've a special owner who does special things for me. Like finding out about my dog. She knows I'm fussy and appreciate the best. My dog is all meat and prepared just the way I like it. So good, it's guaranteed to please. I love her for it, like she loves me.
My dog, guaranteed to tempt fussy eaters.
Tonight, Mike doesn't know who to believe.
Sometimes parents show they care in funny ways. Yeah, and sometimes parents don't give a damn.
How much will Laura put up with to win back her daughter?
Mum, don't you think you could be a little more trusting?
Neighbours, tonight on 10.
The daily slaughter in Beirut has finally forced the withdrawal of a French unit after 2 years of trying to keep the peace. With fighting still raging around them, the 45-man team packed up and left. Network 10's Scott Chisholm reports their stay in the Lebanese capital has cost them dearly.
For 2 years now, the French ceasefire observers have been sitting ducks, observing the almost daily shootouts between Christians and Muslims, between rival Muslims and between Lebanese and Palestinians from atop shell-scarred high-rise buildings. But the men, who are all volunteers from the French armed forces, pulled out today, saying their mission had become impossible. 7 of the 45-man team have been killed. Less than 2 weeks ago, snipers picked off the latest casualty, his distinctive white helmet presenting his killers with an easy target. His death was the last straw. They leave behind them 8 French nationals who have been kidnapped by extremists and a unique urban battlefield. Body counts here are almost impossible to confirm, but according to security, hospital and militia sources, 195 people were killed in Lebanon last month, 60 more than in February. The death toll is mind-boggling. 53 died in Christian-Muslim clashes. 13 died in 3 car bomb blasts. 8 died in Israeli air raids. Another 19 in fighting between Israeli-backed militias and Muslims. Unidentified gunmen killed 2 members of the United Nations peacekeeping force. 15 died in fighting around Palestinian refugee camps. And 11 people were executed by the Party of God radicals. The French have now decided to leave them all to it. This is Scott Chisholm for Eyewitness News.
In the United States, dozens of anti-apartheid demonstrators were arrested on the campus of the University of California in Berkeley. The protest became violent when police moved in to break it up.
Anti-apartheid demonstrators at UC Berkeley have rallied round crudely constructed wood buildings. As symbol of the shanty towns, blacks in South Africa are forced to make their homes. Last night, they built a shanty town around the Chancellor's office to send a message that the university's divestment policy does not go far enough. When police moved in, demonstrators who would not move out were arrested. Those who resisted were taken by force. Of the 61 people arrested, only 21 are registered students at UC Berkeley. After the arrest, the shanties were torn down. Students and others held another rally to notify the administration they will press on despite the university's tougher stance.
What the hell is the University of California doing making profits from a slave system in 1986?
They've only divested a half percentile of all funds, and we want full divestment.
Students marched on an IBM store, which is housed in the university library, but had to give up when they found they'd been locked out. Even while campus workmen were sandblasting paint off sidewalks and walls, the students were plotting more demonstrations against the university's policy of divestment, which they consider too little and too late.
Britain's famous Hampton Court Palace has been reopened to visitors only a day after part of it was destroyed by fire. Scott Chisholm reports art experts have been relieved to find damage to priceless treasures is not as great as first thought.
24 hours after fire raged through the south wing of Hampton Court Palace, the tourists are being allowed back in, but they're being spared the sight of the ruins. Art historians and architects are still assessing the damage, but the art experts are by far the happiest. The architects say the structure of the 300-year-old wing is far more badly damaged than they first feared. It's going to take years to rebuild and several $1 million. The government has already guaranteed the work will be done. The priceless medieval tapestries that used to adorn the walls had been removed for cleaning. Other tapestries and paintings rescued from the flames lie in heaps. Among them, one of the palace's greatest treasures, the vast depiction of the Field of the Cloth of Gold, which was thought to have been destroyed.
We've lost only one painting. We've got to put right 7 others, but this is a fraction of what we might have lost. And we think the palace contains one of the greatest collections of Italian Renaissance masterpieces in the world. Not one of them suffered the slightest damage.
Putting right the damaged art objects isn't such a formidable task as it sounds. Restoration techniques have improved dramatically in recent years. Paintings that 30 years ago couldn't have been salvaged now can be. For example, this painting of Princess Di was badly slashed by a nutter 5 years ago. After restoration, only an expert could pick the difference. Fire and flood presents restorers with an equal headache. With the Hampton Court treasures, they've got both problems to deal with, but they're problems that can be overcome. From Network 10's London Bureau, I'm Scott Chisholm.
Multinational company Union Carbide, whose Bhopal plant in India caused the world's worst chemical disaster, now faces the highest fine in American history for industrial safety violations. John Wiseman of our New York Bureau reports the firm was charged with a string of violations by the Federal Occupational Safety and Health Administration.
Sparking the fine, a chemical leak from this Union Carbide plant at Institute, West Virginia last August. 6 workers were hospitalized, 135 people needed emergency treatment when a cloud of gas spewed into the air. Fortunately, the Bhopal killer, deadly methyl isocyanate, didn't leak. But for what did, government officials have slammed a $1.3 million fine on the company for 221 alleged safety violations. They accuse it of willful disregard of regulations.
Indian government representatives in New York see the US fine as vindication of their stand, that Union Carbide negligence was largely responsible for the 1984 chemical disaster at Bhopal, the world's worst.
Officials claim the company has disparagingly sought to portray that Indian standards and skills were low and responsible for Bhopal.
I feel a certain satisfaction in the kind of information that the US government has now unearthed about this company right here.
Having rejected a $300 million compensation offer for the thousands of Bhopal victims, India continues to fight for what it says is reasonable compensation. From the Eyewitness News Bureau in New York, I'm John Wiseman.
Well, what would you do if you found a multi-million-dollar lottery ticket which later won? Would you keep it and try to collect the winnings, or turn it over to whoever lost it? That was the dilemma facing one out-of-work Canadian.
William Murphy's from Vancouver. He can't speak French. Jean-Guy Lavigare's from Montreal. He can't speak English. Until today, they had one thing in common.
I'm the same as him. I'm unemployed. The Binet Social.
Yesterday, the two had pennies in their bank accounts. Today, they're both millionaires, sharing the biggest jackpot in Quebec history, $7.6 million. Murphy's the unlikely hero in this story. Last Saturday, he found a wallet, Lavigare's wallet, with a lottery ticket in it. He returned the wallet, but kept the ticket.
I took the 649 ticket just to, you know, see maybe if it was good for 10 bucks. Or...
On Sunday, he found out he held the jackpot in his hands.
So for about 2 hours, I thought of keeping the whole thing to myself, and then I said, it's just not the way to do things, and I went back.
Because of the language problem, it took Murphy 2 tries to return the ticket. Does honesty pay? Well, Lavigare gave him $1.3 million. Murphy says he doesn't have any plans on how he'll spend the money. For now, he's joined the idle rich.
It doesn't happen every day.
No, it certainly does not. A rewarding policy of honesty. Back home, further probes to be made into last week's activities on Australian stock exchanges. We'll look at that story shortly.
And Ansett boss Sir Peter Abels tells of his company's battle with striking unions over Easter.
Tonight, 10 has a fantastic knockout double.
But she's very wobbly on that flank. Oh!
Beginning at 7:30 with all the craziness of It's a Knockout.
Oh, dear, right in the stomach.
Sponsored by Uncle Toby's. Then at 8:30, the knockout action continues when Wests clash with Penrith. The Magpies are the cup football giant killers and knocked off the Panthers in last year's quarters. Can Penrith get their revenge? The National Panasonic Cup, 8:30 tonight on 10.
At Norman Ross, our furniture always represents unbeatable value because we constantly check our competitors' prices. You see, at Norman Ross, we guarantee to beat any competitor's advertised price.
This week, the pools have guaranteed a first prize of $2 million. $2 million. All you have to do is cross out any 6 numbers out of 38, and if you're lucky, you could be $2 million richer. Don't miss out. The guaranteed first prize in pools this week is a whopping $2 million. And with only 38 numbers, your chances of winning are that much better and brighter. And with a system entry, your chances of winning are even better. So don't miss out. Get your pools in now for this week's guaranteed first prize of $2 million.
Anyone can fry chicken, but it takes a shake of Master Foods chicken seasoning to make this fried chicken really special this easily. Uniquely blended Master Foods chicken seasoning, and it only takes a shake.
It takes Master Foods to do it. Seems there's nothing to it. It only takes a shake to make it great.
That's great.
Get more recipes from the Master Foods rack in your supermarket. From Master Foods, the taste makers.
$1,000 says our Advance Bank check account is better than your check account. Better, better, better. Find out why in tomorrow's papers. Ha-ha!
Advance Bank, a step ahead.
Allegations of improper dealings on Australian share markets last week are to be further investigated by the National Companies and Securities Commission. National stock markets soared to record levels on Monday and Tuesday, only to suffer one of the biggest single-day falls in the history of the stock exchange on Wednesday.
Monday week ago, and national share markets surged to record highs. On Tuesday, much the same. But come Wednesday, the market indicator falls a massive 42.9 points. In the wake of this, allegations that fund managers had pushed the market to artificially high levels to boost their profit performance. One of those targeted was our second largest life insurance company, National Mutual. It's believed to have taken profits of between $20 and $80 million, significantly boosting its quarterly figures. But NCSC Chairman Henry Bosch is cautious in pointing the finger at any one company.
National Mutual has not come into our purview so far. We've so far been able to trace only brokers. We'll be asking them who their clients were.
Mr Bosch says the initial probe of market activities has uncovered no breaches of the company's code, but interviews with brokers and their clients will begin next week in Sydney and Melbourne, with the results possibly months away. Carolyn Jack, Eyewitness News.
And a new addition to Australia's financial markets with the movement of credit unions into the money market. It comes as a result of the deregulation of the Australian banking system. The credit unions are setting up an industry bank, which will invest funds on the money market.
Until recently, credit unions have been restricted in their financial dealings, but the establishment of CUFCEL, the Credit Union Financial Services Limited, encroaches more and more on traditional banking grounds. CUFCEL will join banks and other financial groups investing in the overnight and short-term money markets. It means your money, unused overnight and at weekends, will be put to work earning the credit union's interest. The benefit to you is not increased interest or lower charges, but
we will be operating on behalf of credit unions in the financial marketplace, in negotiations with banks, in negotiations with governments. Essentially, our role will be to handle all the free funds of credit unions. We'll be able to negotiate better rates on behalf of credit unions. We'll negotiate checking deals for credit unions and acceptance of our plastic credit cards with retailers and bank organisations throughout Australia.
the credit unions will also use CUFCEL in their clearinghouse, hoping to clear your transactions quicker than the banks do at the moment. Sandra Odoricio, Eyewitness News.
The man who sacked 370 workers yesterday in an unprecedented piece of industrial relations confrontation today said it was a dreadful decision he was forced to make. Sir Peter Abel said Ansett Airlines was the innocent victim of a demarcation dispute between two unions, and their actions left him no option. Today, business and public support swung very much in Sir Peter's favour, and with the majority of sacked workers agreeing to his conditions to return to work, Sir Peter appears to have won the day.
I don't think we took a hard stand. I think we took the only stand. I think a lot of people regard industrial relations with pride, with trying to win on both sides, not just union leaders, but employers too. I don't think there's any winning in it. I think
but you couldn't afford to lose this dispute,
we couldn't afford to lose it. We are a company, we are a private enterprise company, the only large private enterprise airline in Australia. We cannot turn to government, or any government, whether it's a Labour or Liberal government. We can't turn to them and ask for financial support if we lose our shirt.
So you had to win?
Well, naturally we did, but we didn't do it to win. We did it to resolve an impasse which we could not see to be resolved in time to accommodate everybody in this situation. I'm not proud that we have won. This is not a situation where we felt like winners or losers. We felt desperate. It was more a move of desperation than a move of trying to win and prove something.
You had contact with the government?
Oh, the only contact I had with the government, don't forget I only got back on Sunday from overseas, was yesterday morning. After we made the decision, I rang Ralph Willis and I told him that we are moving ahead with dismissal of 370 of our employees.
What did he tell you?
He was first silent, and then he told me, "Thank you for letting me know."
Did he give any indication whether he had your support?
No, he didn't give me any indication, and I didn't look for it. But I must say, I would have liked to feel, because particularly as a company which supported the government policy on the industrial scene, I would have liked to feel that we had the support.
Given the same situation, though, do you think you would take the same approach now? Do you think you would issue a sacking order?
If you ask me today, of course I have to say it, because I only took the decision yesterday. I wouldn't have taken it because it was not taken lightly. If I wouldn't have felt that we are in an impossible corner and we have to take the decision. So I presume my view won't change as time goes by.
Still to come, a rare moment in Hollywood as reclusive singer Bob Dylan not only appears in public, but accepts an award.
And veteran pop star Cliff Richard zooms back to the top of the hit charts in England.
Take the humble potato. Flavour generously.
Cook, well, thank you so much. Cook to perfection. Ooh, et voila! New ruffles, hearty seasonings. Mmm, so tasty. You can't eat just one.
Rock stars Sting and Ozzy Osbourne are changed men. Sting has made the transition from the Police to successful acting roles in the movies Dune and Bring on the Night. And former rock hellraiser Ozzy Osbourne has swapped booze and drugs for a cozy family life. Discover the reasons behind the changes in tomorrow's Dirty Telegraph. And don't miss the telly's fashion parade of stylish woolen jumpers to brighten up those chilly winter days. Plus, how can you win a winter escape cruise for two aboard the fun ship Fairstar worth over $2,500?
The telly tells me.
Tomorrow.
From this moment on, your moisturizing lotion may be obsolete. Elizabeth Arden just invented Advanced Energizing Extract, the 21st century lotion that energizes skin to actually change its texture. Suddenly skin is smoother, finer, moister. Makeup glides on, you'll glow. New Advanced Energizing Extract from Elizabeth Arden. It's just in time, and now available from Grace Brothers.
$1,000 says our advance bank check account is better than your check account. Better, better, better. Find out why in tomorrow's papers. Ha-ha!
Advance Bank, a step ahead.
Tonight, West's clash with Penrith in the National Panasonic Cup. The Magpies are the Cup football giant killers and knocked off the Panthers in last year's quarters. Can Penrith get their revenge? The National Panasonic Cup, 8:30 tonight on 10.
South Australian detectives are investigating reports more than 6 tonnes of silver bullion have disappeared from Port Pirie smelters. Police have been working quietly on the case since the smelter discovered the $1.5 million of silver was missing.
The Port Pirie lead and zinc smelter has a large production of silver each year. At Christmas, the smelter discovered it had lost in excess of 12 tonnes of silver bullion. It was all stamped and numbered and should have been in the high security silver yard. The Special Crime Squad has been interviewing staff at the smelter for weeks, and there's been much high-level discussion about the loss. Industry